The Linden Board of Education call this meeting to order. Today is February 27th, and the time that we are starting the meeting today is 6:10 p.m. The statement of adequate notice. In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as follows. On January 10, 2024, notice was sent to the Home Tribune News, the Tapapinto Linden Star-Ledger, Union County Local Source, and the clerk of the municipality. By state law, there is no smoking permitted in this building at any time. In addition to the listed items in this agenda, this Board of Education may discuss and act upon other items not specifically referred to herein, as is allowed at the regularly scheduled monthly meeting under the Sunshine Law. Roll call.
Ms. Cintron. Mr. De La Cruz.
Yes. Here.
Ms. Pino.
Present.
Ms. Rosada Quesada.
Here.
Ms. Thomas.
Present.
Ms. Ulis.
Present.
Ms. Armstead.
Present.
Ms. Carrillo.
Present.
And Dr. Berghammer.
Present. Our next agenda item, as I tell everyone, that really, I believe that the voice of the people is very important. Members of the public desiring to make a public comment may come forward at this time. For those watching online, if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please utilize the raise your hand feature on the online meeting platform. Please begin your comments by stating your name and address. Individuals are invited to speak on one topic at a time, and no individual will speak more than once until all the individuals so desiring have spoken once. The public is reminded that to ensure the efficient and orderly operation of the meeting, members of the public will be limited to speaking on agenda items for 3 minutes. If you will notice, we have utilized the clock. And the clock will start, it's right here at your left, at my left. So anyone that is making a comment, we would ask you to please look at the clock. And when the clock turns to 0, we would like you to stop speaking. We would not like to have to raise the gavel on you. So thank you very much, and we would love to hear from you. The next agenda item at this moment will be the superintendent's report.
Good evening, everyone. On Thursday, my superintendent's report will include acknowledgement and recognition for student achievement, staff achievement, district achievement. We will also speak to the budget updates and also upcoming scholarship opportunities for our students. Thank you.
Our next agenda item is attorney presentation, or are you going to wait till Thursday?
No, I have 2 things that I could touch on out here, and if there are any questions, I can certainly address them when we go in a closed session. There's one item listed on the agenda that's approved the CBA between the board and LASA. We already approved that contract way back when. This is just we're actually taking the changes in the MOA, incorporating them into the actual contract document, which you're now going to approve. So all we're doing is memorializing the agreement we already made several months ago. So that's item 1. Item 2, which is not on there, is we have a settlement that we could talk about when we go into closed session. It's Star v. Linden Board of Education. We have a settlement agreement that's ready for your approval. I'll go over the terms again with you all in closed session. All right.
Okay, thank you. Our next agenda item is our Education Committee report.
Good evening.
On Thursday, the Education Committee, upon recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the Assistant Superintendents, present the following motions to the Linden Board of Education for approval. Items number 1 through 4 on pages 5 through 6 is seeking to approve special education services, which includes enrollments, terminations, and related services. Item number 5 on page 8 is seeking to approve amendments on past agendas. Item number 6 on pages 8 through 12 includes use of facilities for various activities taking place throughout the district, such as assemblies, a tech night, and athletic events. Item number 7 on page 12 is seeking approval for in-district PD activities which are taking place. The SIOP is the Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol, which is taking place in 2 cohorts, including elementary and secondary staff. Item number 8 is seeking approval for district field trips. Copies are in the hands of board members. Item number 9 is seeking approval for PD, professional development for district staff. That goes through pages 13 through 18. Item number 10 on page 19 is seeking approval for a revised charter school enrollment. There were some revisions that were made from the state. Item number 11 on page 19 is seeking approval for Title I tutoring. Item number 12 on page 19 is seeking approval of a summer remedial program. Item number 13 on page 20 is seeking approval for a STEM Academy at 21st Century, which will take place at Seoul Middle School. Item number 14, pages 21 through 22, is seeking approval for our extended school year program for our special education students. So it outlines the various programs and needs that will take place during the summer. Item number 15 on page 23 is seeking approval for our International Baccalaureate exam schedule. That is for our IB students. Item number 16 on page 23 is seeking approval for a delayed opening for 9th and 10th grade students, while 11th grade students will be taking the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment, and some seniors will be coming in to start their graduation appeals process. Item number 7 on page 24 is seeking approval for a delayed opening for students during NJSLA assessments taking place in May. Item number 18 is seeking approval for Linden Public Schools to continue with an agreement with Berkeley College. It's for high school students to take an Intro to Criminal Justice course offered through Berkeley College at no cost to the district, no cost to students. Item number 19 is seeking approval for a partnership with New Jersey Family Care to help increase the amount of our students who have health insurance. Item number 20 on page 24 is seeking approval for a U.S. girls flag football application to establish a girls flag football program here in the district. Item number 21 is seeking approval to prepare and submit the 2024-2025 preschool expansion aid budget workbook. Item number 22 on page 24 is for a staff member to conduct her administrative internship. Item number 23 is to accept the donation of books from the organization Quest Enrichment Program for school number 5 students. Item number 24 is granting permission for our annual Links Walkathon, which takes place every year. Item number 25 is granting approval for the creation of an ESL bilingual 3-year committee. Our plan expires in June of 2024, so we'll be looking to establish a committee to begin the new 3-year plan. Item number 26 is seeking to approve the portfolio appeals process, which will be conducted on the same dates of the delayed opening for the New Jersey GPA assessments. Item number 27 is seeking approval on HIB investigations. And item number 28 on page 26 is a resolution proclaiming March 2024 as Women's History Month. This concludes the education report.
Thank you. Any questions? I have a question on page 12. Would someone explain the last?
School event for Marchese, the last one.
The SIOP on the bottom?
No,
Oh,
no,
last.
last.
No.
Renata Marchese. That's the New Jersey pedestrian peer pressure group. They're coming in.
To do a presentation,
Yeah,
yes.
for the students.
On what? What are they going to be doing? It says like pedestrian
Pedestrian
safety,
safety.
peer pressure. What do you have any more? Could you expand on it a little more?
I can get additional information for you for Thursday, but my understanding is it's essentially on helping students understand pedestrian safety.
And what about on item 9, number 5, stop the bleed?
Stop the Bleed campaign is, the state came out with initiative to teach students and staff how to address a fatality or an accident that may entail some form of blood. So there's a curriculum and there's training, and so we're partnering with, to get that curriculum to send out our staff to that training.
Anyone else have some questions on education?
The only question I had is just a follow-up from our committee meeting. Did we figure out the trip to the Apple Store, what that was for?
I will get back to you on that.
Okay.
I didn't hear the question.
It was a
Trip to the Apple Store. She wanted additional information on it.
The field trip, okay.
And you have something that I think impressed me a lot, and is item on page 17, calming the overactive brain. Is that something that we're doing in professional development?
So one of our district staff members, one of our nurses, is going to that PD session on calming the overactive brain.
And come back and give back to the school? That's a nice class. I think that's interesting.
Well, that's our nurse, right? Yeah, our nurse is going to go to that, so is, tied to the medical field.
I know this is not on our agenda, but I want to find out. I saw that we have approvals for early dismissal because we are getting ready for some state exams. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Could you tell us how that's going?
Sure. So in March, let me double check. In March, our freshmen and sophomore students will be coming in on a delayed opening schedule so that the juniors, the 11th grade students, can participate in the NJ GPA. That's one of the assessments to determine that they can graduate when they become seniors. So our seniors who were not successful based on some of the information that was shared at our, I believe it was our October meeting, the seniors will be coming in to start the portfolio appeals process during that time.
I don't understand. They're taking a test in March and they're doing the appeal. The appeal is for what occurred in October?
The appeals are for seniors who took the test last March and were not
Yes.
successful.
All
So
right.
we're giving them essentially another opportunity.
Or so they now could retake the test
So
at this time or?
They're going through the appeals process because they've exhausted their efforts with the test. So there will be tutoring that is provided, and they'll take a different type of assessment as part of the graduation appeals. So then our teachers provide them with the tutoring during this delayed opening window.
Yes.
They'll be providing them with tutoring, and then they'll be scoring them, and then we will be submitting that information to the state.
Well, I know we have 465 students that will be graduating in June. Of that 465 students, you may not have a number. Do you know how many students will actually be going through the appeal process?
256 in math and 90 in ELA.
200 and
56
in math. Well, we know we have problem.
And then the 90 in ELA is actually combined 90 students who need math and ELA. So it's not like an additional.
So do we have additional tutoring put in place for these 200, because that's almost half of a population that is not doing well or graduating class? What are we doing to make sure that our math scores last year was, I don't want to give the wrong number, so I'm not going to quote, I can't remember it. But I know we weren't where we supposed to be, and it seemed like we're still there. So what are we doing proactively to cut that number, if possible, in half so that we could get more students, math scores going up?
So actually, that 256 number is a decrease from last year. In October, it was a little closer to 300. I don't have the exact number, but it was closer to 300. So in October, I believe it was October, we offered an additional assessment, so that number has decreased. In addition
That's
to,
good.
Yes. In addition to that, the tutoring and appeals process is going to be taking place during this delayed opening window in March. In lieu of waiting for students to do appeals in May, like closer to the end of the school year, we're starting it earlier.
Mrs. Perkins, my question is that our students do very, very well in math from grade 1 to grade 8. And then after grade 8, they start sliding. And then by the time they get to high school, they're totally struggling. I know we have 3 vice principals, right? 4 vice principals in the high school. And we have no deans. Do you think that, because I think part of the problem we have, and I could be wrong, and I would like to have my board member thoughts on this if they have. I think we have a transition issue from elementary to middle school, and then middle school to high school. We have a transition issue. So if we have a transition issue, what my recommendation may be is that maybe in the 9th and 10th grade, we need maybe to add some deans that will help with the transitioning, with the disciplining of our students. It should not be an administrative position. It should be a teaching position. But in the 9th and the 10th grade, to help with discipline, to help with the transition from the middle to the high school, because the time in middle school is so short that the students never even have a chance to settle before they actually gone to high school, where not only they didn't settle, but now the population in some cases have doubled or even tripled in some places. So, I think that we really need to look at grade 9 and do more for the students in grade 9 and grade 10, because I hope that by 11th and 12th grade, they're a little more mature. Do you guys have any suggestions?
I think you're right, Dr. B, because the kids were home when they were supposed to be changing and maturing with kids bigger sizes between 11 and 13. They might be home. Now they're in high school and they don't know how to approach a lot of things. They change. They haven't put themselves in the right place. And I think that's a great assessment to do, to see how can we help the kids.
Well, a lot going on. What are going through? Puberty? A lot is going on at that stage in their life. The kids are actually going through puberty. So they're going through, their bodies are changing, their minds are changing, they're starting to discover the world. And now they have to also deal with all these different personalities. So my question is, maybe we need to take maybe evaluate, do an audit of maybe 9th and 10th grade to see if there's anything we could do to help our students in these 2 grades. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that, Ms. Annabelle and Mrs. Perkins?
Well, one of the things that we have to assist students with the transition from elementary to middle, as well as from middle to high school, is our summer bridge program. And that's why we call it the bridge, because it is to help them transition into those levels. So in the summer programming, it's specifically targeted to address student academics. It's for students who were not successful during the school year. So now you're stating that this is something that we should carry out through the entire school year. So I believe we have a blueprint already in place that we can further present to the board and tie in with our budget to see if that's what the board believes is best for our students. So it is definitely possible.
Ms. Annabelle, what are your thoughts?
I was going to echo the same thoughts on that program. And in addition to that, I think developmentally, students when transitioning from 8th grade to 9th grade, based on their age, developmental needs have particular struggles. And we will continue to support them. I think at the district level, we will look at our data to have the data drive our decision-making process.
Also, just, okay, just a side comment. From my transition from high school to college, and this is just an idea, at my university, they kind of just put us all, whoever had the same major, in like every single same class. So we were switching together, we were learning together, we were socializing outside of class, doing group work together. So maybe that's something. I think they called it something like a learning group. Or something
Learning
like
communities.
that. Yeah, so you were switching classes together and all of that stuff, so maybe an idea.
Two things. Annabelle had shared during the education committee, which was very reassuring because I was also like a little bit alarmed by the numbers that in previous years we haven't had a student not graduate because of these test scores. So that was like a bit reassuring, and I just wanted to share that with the board. Second thing, we can also look into maybe having a student delegate to help with that transition period, because I know when I was at Rutgers, I transferred to Rutgers, and I was a transfer delegate for the Black Student Union. So my role was to help all transfer students with the transition as they were trying to navigate Rutgers, because I was familiar with the process. So maybe, finding a way to maybe incorporate that into the transition period, because who better, sometimes there is a disconnect because we're older. So who better to kind of help with that transition period than someone who's done it, that's at more closer with the age gap with the students. Yeah, that's all.
I think we need to really, really dig deep to see what we can do to help our students during that crucial time in their life, because all of them during this time of their life, something happens to the brain. The brain goes through changes, and we really have to find out how we could support them more, take a holistic approach to them to help them, complete high school. Okay, so I guess we finished with, anybody else have any questions or thoughts to add? Now, before we move on to the next agenda item, could somebody tell me how are things going with our graduation? Did we find a place? What are our thoughts on graduation?
We said we would have more information on Thursday.
Thursday?
Yes.
All right. And then what about remember we have this video contest? We haven't heard anything about it in a while, right? What's going on with our video contest?
The deadline is actually this Friday. We have received some submissions from students representing elementary school, middle school, and high school.
Do you know how many videos we got?
It was approximately 10.
That's
approximately 10.
Is there any way, seeing that we now have a publicist, right? Is there any way we could talk to the mayor and see if we could get these videos on Channel 36? What do you guys think? So that at least the people from Linden could take a look at these videos that our students have created.
One of the things, the criteria for selecting the winner is going to come from the mayor's office. So that can tie right into how you're deciding. Maybe the public are watching the videos and they chime in as well too with these videos. So yes,
we could do, if we can do it, we could advertise it, that all the videos will be showed at a particular day, a particular time, so that our students and parents and everybody could tune in and watch the videos.
I agree, but the only concern I would have, since we have to have signatures and approvals of everybody that's in the video, if the parent is comfortable showing it.
The parent had to sign off, the permission slip included parent permission.
So do you think that we could get that done? And what are you guys thought? Don't you think
Idea.
we'll have a lot more students watching our local TV, all right? And I know they will all sit down to watch these videos of their classmates on television. Brianna, you remember you and I went to see some videos? These kids make some awesome, awesome videos.
Yeah, and I'll talk about that on Thursday, but I did sit in at Chris Pashkowicz's class, and our students are very talented with their video editing and writing, directing capabilities. They have a lot of content that they're putting out, that they're creating within the classrooms that we definitely could probably push out and share.
And another topic I wanted to also discuss, I want to discuss our virtual yearbook. We have had our virtual yearbook last year. All right, okay, reach for later. All right, okay, so continue to the next item. My board vice president spoke.
Dr. B, before, and
Yes.
Madam Vice President, I didn't realize we had our auditors waiting here the entire time to
Oh, I didn't know that.
give a presentation.
Nobody told me that.
Rather than let them hang out here all night, can we let them do the presentation and then get
Absolutely.
on?
I am so sorry, guys. Yes, let's do this. Is this a team?
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd just like to introduce myself. This is the presentation of the audit report for the year June 30th, 2023. It was completed early January of this year. That's a little bit late than normal. But I'd just like to introduce myself. My name is Warren Korecki. I'm with Suppley Clooney and Company, the auditor for the board. I'm the engagement partner. I'm here this evening with Eric Zimmerman. He was the manager who ran the day-to-day operations of the audit. You should have received two reports. One's the annual comprehensive financial report. It's the Big Thick report. This is the financial information. And then there's a smaller report. It's the auditor's management report. This is required by the State Department of Education because it's not just a financial audit. It's also a compliance audit. There's an audit manual around 300 pages. There's a lot of regulations, administrative code, and state laws that the board has to comply from the financial level. And if there is any comments or recommendations, they're in this report in different areas. There's around 14 different areas that we have to audit. And we do have one recommendation in the report, and it's required by statute that you at least read the recommendation. And if you have any questions on it, I'll make a brief comment. The recommendation is that all treasurer's reports be reconciled to the board secretary's report each month. The treasurer's report is basically your receipts and disbursements, and it's the bank reconciliations. The banks were reconciled monthly. However, the reconciliations weren't agreed back to the board secretary's report, which is basically the general ledger accounts. It was only for 1 month, October. It was corrected in December, and I think this has been corrected, and there's some safeguards in place that this doesn't really happen again. So there was only one recommendation, which is very good, because there's a lot of information in here. I mean, there's just, like I said, it's a 300-page audit manual that we filed, so we only found this one item. Are there any questions on the recommendation or the small report, if anybody has a chance to look at it?
You don't have the copy going on, I ain't got no report.
They had a committee meeting.
It was just in the committee meetings.
You borrow mine?
Appreciate it.
Okay. The big report is the annual comprehensive financial report, and this deals with all the financial regulations that took place during the fiscal year. This is developed from the records of the business administrator's office, his general ledgers, his receipts, his disbursements, appropriation runs. So we take this, it's developed by, it's called the GASB. Those are accounting principles and accounting regulations that we have to follow. It's required by the State Department of Education, Division of Finance. So we have to follow those rules and regulations. That's how the report is developed and put together. There's a lot of information here. The opinion that we gave on the report is called a clean opinion. That means all the rules that you have that are being followed, so it just assures you that everything that's being done in the business office is being done correctly and on time, okay? There's a lot of information in here. There's budgetary information, there's district-wide information, but the schedule that I really like to look at, it starts on page 86 and goes to 96. It's the budgetary versus actual. It's a detailed presentation of the financial operation for the fiscal year. It's one of the few schedules in the report that gives you at least a very detailed presentation of the operation. It gives you all your revenues by detail, it gives you all your expenses by your budget items, and if you're working on your budget for next year, the 25 budget, this is a good schedule to start out with. You kind of see where you started and where you ended to. It also acts as a profit and loss, so I'll just go over your surplus. You ended the year with $80 million, $443 in surplus. However, that's not all free and clear. There's different elements of it. You have encumbrances of $7.6 million. Those are orders that were given out before June 30th, but they weren't complete, so you have money set aside for those items. You have excess surplus of the current year is $4,444,000. That's just your surplus above your 2% that the state allows you to keep. You have surplus that you're using in this year's budget, the 24 budget, it's $14,243,639, so that money's set aside for this year's budget. There's a capital reserve, $48,259,027. Now that's for any capital project in your long-range facility plan that you want to do of capital in nature, facilities, buildings, structures. You have a maintenance reserve of $2 million. That's to maintain your buildings. An emergency reserve of $959. And then your free surplus unassigned is $2,642,000. So that's the money that free and clear that you can use to amend your budget or use in next year's budget as you're going along. In other words, you're working at 25, that money's available for the next year's budget for either tax relief or to reduce the amount of the budget you have. And that's basically about it. We also do a single audit. A single audit is nothing more than we do the compliance audit on your federal and state grants. It's required once you reach over a certain limit, $750,000, you have to test, detailed testing of all your federal and state grants, and you met all the requirements of those regulations. If there's any questions from the board, I'll gladly take them now. If you had a chance to look at it. If you didn't have a chance to look at it, if there's anything else you want to ask us about it as you're going through it, just go through the business administrator's office or call us. You can go online. We do have a website. You can, ask us direct questions at that point in time if you have anything, if you look at, because it's a lot of information here. There's a lot of demographic information, not just financial. It talks about, population size and things like that. So there's a lot of information in the report. You have a chance to look at it.
John, how does this work? I know he come and he do an audit, and this is a lot of...
Well, yeah,
yes.
there is a lot of information on here. Reason being is, hypothetically, if we're going out for bonding or anything like that, if people wanted to actually see the operation, I mean, we all know that we're going to be here forever, but they want to see the financial aspects of it. As Warren had spoken about, really the two main areas that we tend to look at in the big book is the section C, which basically shows where the budget is and where we ended the school year with. As you know, we did generate a lot of, I don't want to say revenue, but there was expenditures that weren't spent because of various reasons, monies in the capital reserve, positions that were budgeted for that people weren't hired. So we were able to generate a lot of money there, as well as, I think some additional revenues came in. It wasn't so much, but it was mostly that the amount of money that we had budgeted for versus the amount of money that we actually spent there was a difference there. And it wasn't through anybody's fault. Like I said, we talked about it all last year, how we were having trouble finding personnel for people to fill in the positions. When you don't hire somebody, you have a salary that you budgeted for them of, whatever it was, $60,000, $70,000. You also have benefits that were budgeted for them of $30,000. So you'll see large surpluses in those lines if you go to the section C. The report that we like to look at as business administrators is a smaller report. It's nice. It's only less pages, but it's also where you're going to see the findings And as Warren spoke about, the two parts of the audit, the first part is really to discuss the operations, to see if things are being done correctly. I mean, they're legitimately coming in. I mean, they can't check every transaction that we did, but they're going to come in and say, are you purchasing things correctly? Are you doing your reconciliations correctly? And they're going to spot check certain areas. The second thing that they're going to look at is they're going to give you the financial picture of where you're at. And obviously, it's funny, Eric and I just talked about it today, because where we're at is actually as of June 30th, 2023. We're already into the 23-24 school year. But what we utilize those numbers, to change some of our starting points, so to speak. But I think, we really, in terms of finances, and, I wrote down some of the numbers here. We've set up, basically 3 reserve accounts, which are, in essence, savings accounts that can be utilized for certain things. And the state allows you, for the capital reserve to save up, because you don't necessarily, you don't always want to have to go out, make it a part of your budget, or if you have a really large capital project item, it allows you to save up for that. We also have reserves that are, almost, I would say, like emergencies during the course of the school year. I think Warren would probably agree with me to say that we're in a very good spot financially. If there's ever anything that came up during the course of the year, whether it was, a roof problem or a boiler problem or a heating problem, we can actually tap into the capital reserve to take care of that. If we ever had any sort of maintenance issues, we could go into the maintenance reserve. We also, like Warren spoke about, we have emergency reserve. I know that's a little harder to get the money out during the course of the year, but if all other finances were exhausted, we would be able to go into that. We also have money that's basically can be used for anything else. That's the fund balance that we spoke about, the 2%.
It's a general fund?
That's general fund. Yeah, that's basically at the end of last year, your expenditures for 22-23, 2% of that is allowed to basically be used for it's a savings account that can be utilized for anything. But it's called undesignated fund balance. It's, in theory, when you take all your revenues and subtract out all your expenses and what you're left with. But, obviously we have the reserves in there.
What's the difference between, he said we have $80 million in surplus.
Yes.
But you said we have $43 million in reserves.
Well,
what's the difference between the surplus and the reserve? Why we have $80 million in one and $43 million in the other?
Well, your total surplus is $80 million, but there's different components of it.
Mm-hmm.
The board over the years put away $48 million for capital reserves, and that's designated. Once you put it in here, it stays there for capital projects, school facilities, anything you want to build, roof repair, major repairs that are in your long-range facility plans. The amount that the $2.6 million that I'm talking about, that's your 2% that the state allows you to keep to use for any operations that happen during the year. You can amend your budget with it. You could use it in next year's budget for tax relief. There's different designations of surplus. It all falls down into the one category, surplus. The state lets you just put in different categories: maintenance reserve, emergency reserve.
So globally we have $80 million, but that $80 million is diversified into all these different
components.
funds.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
But I wouldn't even say we have the 80 million, because 7.6 million of it was purchase orders that we hadn't liquidated yet. Those were items that, for whatever
That's
reason.
Right. The $7.6 million is orders that you had. They didn't come due at the end of the year, so they're technically not expenses. So when those come due in the next fiscal year, in July, August, September, there's money set aside to pay for those bills. They're not charged to the current budget. They're charged to this reserve.
This is before the governor's speech, so we don't even know where we basically are. Because if the governor comes and change his numbers, this could diminish our reserve. Is that correct? Or surplus?
No, this is yours. This is what you have.
This is ours, but what I'm saying is that we get a certain amount of state aid, all right? If the governor do stuff like he did last year with the health insurance and stuff like that, it could also mess us up. And could it affect us like
Well, I mean, it could, obviously, if the governor comes in with, let's say, less than state aid, or like you were talking about, on the health benefits. However, because we have these reserves, we're actually going to be able to, mitigate some of those problems. We can, if the health benefits, for instance, goes up a significant amount, we can actually tap into the emergency reserve to help offset some of those increased costs. We're able at the budget time to take money out of the maintenance reserve to utilize to support that portion of the budget. And obviously, we have money set aside for capital projects so that we never have to go out to the public if we wanted to do capital projects. So that's kind of the beauty of having those reserves, that you're able to sort of withstand or help mitigate some of those fluctuations on the state aid. For what we're hoping for, knock on wood, come Thursday, is that the state aid number is going to show a significant increase for Linden.
So based on this, you're telling us, as all of us as citizens of Linden, based on this information, we should not see a tax increase, right?
No, you're in a good financial position. You're in a real good financial position, from what I say. I mean, you have a good fund balance and reserves to come up with any contingencies that you have. I mean, so you're in good shape, really good shape.
Oh, you're in really good shape. Okay.
Thank you.
I'd just like to take this moment to thank John, his administrator, and his staff, Pam, for all the cooperation they give us during the audit. We do ask a lot of questions. We do meet, we're a little bit pests, we bother people looking for pieces of paper. And I also like to thank the board for the appointment. We do appreciate the business, so thank you.
Okay.
Good evening.
Thank you. You want to continue?
Sure. Thank you very much.
Moving on to the finance report.
All right. On Thursday night, upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Finance Committee, and the Business Administrative Board Secretary, we will be presenting the following motions to the Linden Board of Education. Resolutions 1 through 5 are, our typical monthly resolutions approving the board secretary's report, the treasurer's report, approving payment of bills, approving payment of payroll, approving transfers, and approving the student activities report. Resolution 6, we are looking for an amendment to a past finance report for where monies will be deposited into. Resolution 7 is to accept funds in the amount of $200 from North Plainfield for the ROTC activities. On the next page, we get into our donations, accepting funds from the Blackbaud Giving Fund, $600 for School 6 PTA, $25 from the Blackbaud Giving Fund for School 4 PBSIS, $1,195 from School Number 4 Valentine Boutique to be deposited into the School Number 4 K-Kids account. Resolution 11, $6,000 from Vanguard Charitable for the Otto T. Salzar Memorial Scholarship. And I'll just skip one ahead because this is one more donation, accepting funds of $2,025 from Upcycle for the sale of obsolete technology items. And backing up now to Resolution 12, this is accepting the carryover of school security grant from the 2022 project period. There was a grant during the 2020-21 school year. Linden applied for it. I think it was around the time of Alyssa's law, so a lot of that money was utilized for upgrades for the security for the district. In reviewing that allocation, there was $91,322 still left in that grant. So what we're looking at is taking that money and utilizing it in the 23-24 school year. The money will be utilized for purchasing cameras throughout the district. It's actually going to help offset some of the security upgrades that the district has already approved in prior years to help basically reduce cost in the Fund 11 account. Resolution 14, there is another NJSDA emergency and capital needs appropriation Every year, it seems like they're setting aside some money for that, from that grant. As you'll recall, during our budget presentation last year, we had set aside money for the school number 6 window project. So what we're simply doing is, rather than paying for it out of Fund 12, provided that it comes in, if need be, we might have to take some money out of Fund 12, but we'll be offsetting most of the costs for this project with this NJSDA grant. Resolution 15 is looking to approve the revised agreement for the non-public ESSA Title I agreement with Union County Educational Services. The reason for the revision is due to the carryover amount from the 22-23 school year into the 23-24 school year. Resolution 16 is looking for a revision to the H2M Architects consulting services. Prior, they had given us an agreement just for 2 of the schools for administering the architectural and engineering consulting services. Obviously, we are looking at doing 4 schools with the ARP ESSER grant money. Their fees we will be looking to charge those fees to the ARP ESSER grant so that it does not hit local funds. Resolution 17 is looking to approve a special board meeting to be held on Saturday, March 9, 2024. This was discussed at our last board meeting. The purposes of this meeting would be to hold a board retreat. Resolution 18 is looking to approve the internet service agreement, or rather renew the internet service agreement with Comcast Business for beginning July 1st, 2024. Resolution 19 is looking to approve, through our time and material vendor, the pull station covers that I believe Mrs. Perkins has spoken to you about, and the need to put pull station covers over them so that we don't have them inadvertently going off. Resolution 20 is a grant that the district is looking to apply for through the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, up to $100,000 to carry out the installation of playground turf and equipment at school number 10. This would help offset some of the costs for that project. This is something that the playground and turf and equipment is something that we are going to be looking at putting into our 24-25 budget. Resolution 21 is looking to approve contracts for the 23-24 school year for our technology department. The Barracuda email archiver, which is just something that we are utilizing for archiving our emails as is required by law. The Know Before Security Awareness, which is a staff training tool to combat cybersecurity issues. And this is to assist with the professional learning of the technology department. And there is a wireless signal heat mapping. It's to help troubleshoot Wi-Fi access points throughout the district. Resolution 22 is looking to approve a revised budget calendar now that we've gotten both the board meeting dates as well as the submission dates from the state of New Jersey in regards to our 24-25 budget. We are asking the board to revise this so that we can, so everybody's aware of when items are going to be done. As you'll note, this week, the governor's address is being done. I believe it's actually done today, and we should have an update on state aid for Thursday night's meeting. We are also looking for March 19th to be our preliminary budget presentation and approval to the Board of Education. This is currently scheduled as a board meeting. And finally, we will be looking to hold the public hearing and the adoption of the final budget on April 25th, 2024. Again, a scheduled Board of Education meeting. Just so everyone's aware, we also did send invitations to City Council and the Mayor for tonight's meeting as well as the upcoming budget hearings and budget discussions. So the preliminary meeting, preliminary budget, as well as the public hearing. Resolutions 23 and 25, I don't know why they got separated. Those speak to the audit presentation that we just had tonight. We are looking at approving the audit for the 22-23 audit, as well as approving the corrective action plan for the one finding that was discussed previously. Resolution 24, which I don't know if we will be able to get on, because we did have a bid opening last week. The bids were being reviewed. We only had 2 bidders bid on it. However, the second bidder was challenging the first bidder. So we've sent that off to the attorney for review. And item number 26, this is something new that we just added, and I apologize for it coming on, but we just received the resolution. This is to approve the submission of a waiver application for the operation of the early childhood program for the following classrooms that don't meet the minimum requirements for size according to the ECPA grant. The minimum requirement for size is 950 square feet. But you are able to still utilize a classroom if you do submit this waiver. It involves one of our classrooms, school number 1, which was new, as well as some of the classrooms that we've utilized at Albies and Building Blocks. And finally, Resolution 27 is approving the disposal of obsolete and unusable equipment. Again, we will be looking at selling this items either through Upcycle or through gov.org or govdeals.com so that they're not simply thrown out, but the district can make some money off of it. And that's the end of the finance resolutions. As Ms. Perkins spoke about, we do have additional budget information that will be coming out. We hope to at least have the state aid numbers, as well as maybe some preliminary type numbers that we can discuss at Thursday's meeting. But you know, as I spoke about in finance, the goal is to keep all of the intent of the budget is to keep all the programs that we currently have in operation. You know, to continue with the hope, at least, of being able to add additional staff. You know, we're budgeting for it. It's more about finding the people, but we are continuing with that, both people that we had, or staff members that we had hoped to add this year, as well as additional staff that we'll be discussing with the board that we're looking to add for the 24-25 budget, as well as some capital projects that we are looking to do to continue with the upgrades that we've been doing this past year to the various schools throughout the district. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Page 43, right? Number 11. Is it number 11? No, number 13, I'm sorry. Can you explain a little bit more to me about this? Because if we already paid for cameras and stuff, we put grant for more money. So how is this working?
Well, it's sort of an accounting thing. So what we previously done was we had charged it to Fund 11. So if it's something that we've cut the check out of Fund 11, we can, on our books, sort of change to where the account is being charged. It's not that, you know, we're going to cut them a second check. It's just we're going to basically change it. The check said, hey, listen, we were initially charging it to Fund 11. Now we're going to move it over to this grant so that it frees up the money within
So the money will cover it?
Yeah.
Basically? Okay. All right, and one more thing. Page 44, number 20.
Yes.
Okay, explain that to me, 'cause I see only one school here, but we know we have more schools that need help, so will we be divvying it to all the schools, or just number 10?
Yeah, what we were looking at was just helping to offset one of the costs. We are looking at doing the remaining schools that don't have playgrounds, the elementaries. But, you know, the most that we could do was $100,000 for the school district, and, you know, to split it up to 4 different schools would only be $25,000. We said, we'll just keep it at the one. We had initially we kept it at School 10 too, because we were initially speaking with the town about the possibility of seeing if we can combine the two together, because they were looking at doing some work regards to the playground there at School 10. We were really going to look to do on the other side for our children during the course of the day. It unfortunately couldn't happen that way, but we sort of just kept it at school 10.
Thank you.
For number 26, on page 47, for the LVs and building block school, are we using staff from the district?
For
Number 26,
Albee and building blocks?
yes, are we
No, I believe that's being outsourced, correct?
outsourced? We're outsourcing them, or are we utilizing aides and teachers from these specific daycares, or are we bringing someone in to the daycare?
I'd have to get back to you on that.
This is for the pre-K 3. No.
Yeah, this is the these are the pre-K classrooms.
Pre-K. No, we don't send our employees there. They are fully employed if they meet the criteria, and we're partnering with them. They have to follow the curriculum we provide them with, but they're the ones, because they evaluate their employees and all of that, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions?
I had a question on 17, the board retreat. I know I usually ask questions on your agenda items, but it's listed as a special board meeting. Right? You're not discussing or taking any action, right? We're not opening that to the public, so it's not going to be a special board meeting. It's just,
It'll be a board retreat.
yeah, we should probably reword
Take
that
that.
to avoid any confusion. So that was a question on 17. Then just a comment on 24. John mentioned just today we got a bid protest letter alleging that the apparent low bidder was non-compliant with our specifications, and their non-compliance was material. We reviewed it. We're going to give the apparent low bidder an opportunity to respond to that letter and the allegations set forth therein. So it's highly unlikely that we're going to be able to vote on number 24 on Thursday, but we are sorting through it as quickly as we can.
Any other questions? Okay. Moving on to buildings, grounds, and security report.
Good evening. So on Thursday night, the Building, Grounds, and Security Committee, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools and the BA, will be presenting the following motions for approval. Resolution 1 will be looking to amend some of the dates for use that have been previously approved at our August, October, and November meetings for the Linden Youth Soccer, Linden United Soccer Club, and the Building Men Parent Workshops. Resolution 2 is looking for PTA approvals for school number 1 for a game night and bingo night. School number 5 is looking for a PTA Scholastic Book Fair Gymnasium use of facility. The Easter egg hunt, which is being done by the Special Education Department and Linden Police Department, is scheduled for March 30th from 11 to 2. We have a request for the sports supervisor of the city of Linden to have the boys under 14 soccer team training being done at Tiger Stadium from Monday and Wednesdays. The ESL mentoring program for the Linden High School to occur Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're looking at use of facility for the high school PTA for a tricky tray, both the setup and the event to happen October 18th and 19th of 2024. We're also looking for approval for the Linden Youth Soccer Association to have its spring soccer training Tuesdays and Thursdays, April, May, and June. Resolution 9 is looking for approval to have the Linden School District, various schools throughout the district serve as a primary election polling place on Tuesday, June 4th. Resolution 10 is looking for use of facilities for the Linden Tigers Pop Warner for cheerleading practice, as well as home football games. The cheerleading would be at School 4 and School 5, and the games obviously would be at Tiger Stadium. Resolution 11 is looking for approval for our athletic programs to use the PAL building for volleyball, Wheeler Park for baseball and softball, and And finally, and this is new from our committee meeting, use of facilities at no charge for the school number 1 PTA for a PTA meeting on March 6th. And that is the end of our report.
Are there any questions?
Yes, it's not a question, it's just item 5. It says Edward Kushner, and it should be Edmund.
Edmund?
Edmund.
Okay.
John, I do have a question. That email for the karate, that they wanted the use of the facility, I think, in the high school, the tournament that they wanted to put on,
Yes.
did we get that approved, or did we look at the dates they were looking at?
I know we were waiting on something from them, so I could get back to you on why it's not here, but I think they still have time, right? I think it's an April event. So I think we said if you weren't able to get the information to us for this meeting, we could still get it on for March, but I'll find out what happened.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to planning and policy.
Good evening. The Planning and Policy Committee, upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, presents the following motion to the Linden Board of Education for approval. We have our first reading for Policy 5843, titled Before and After Care Program. After a review of our programming, we learned that we did not have a policy in place to go over procedures, start times, end times, and what to expect with our before and after care program. So this is the first reading that you all have a copy of to ensure that we're following and policies and procedures. And then they should say we have a second reading that we spoke to last month. Policy number 1250 is our visitors policy. Policy 3163, advertising on school property. 3542, school food service program. 3542.4, breakfast offer versus serve. And 3542.5, lunch offer versus serve. And those are the items put forth for approval.
Are there any questions? Moving on to, we're going to go into comments for the public before we go into our executive session. So, comments from the public. Members of the public desiring to make a public comment may come forward at this time. For those watching online, if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, please utilize the raise your hand feature on the online meeting platform. Please begin your comments by stating your name and address. Individuals are invited to speak on one topic at a time, and no individual will speak more than once until all individuals so desiring have spoken once. The public is reminded that to ensure the efficient and orderly operations of the meeting, members of the public will be limited to speaking on items for 3 minutes. Is there anyone online? No comments from the public this evening? Wow. Okay. Well, at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to go into a second.
We're not doing new and unfinished business? Or we do it after?
So we were saving that for Thursday.
Okay, no problem. I'm good. Motion to go into executive.
Second.
Did he do,
he did the motion.
Well, it's second.
Second. Watch it, yeah, you better watch it.
I had you, don't worry.
You got John got my back over here. You hear John? John was like, watch it.
Mr. Dela Cruz,
Yes.
Ms. Pino,
Yes.
Ms. Rosada Quesada,
yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. Ulisse,
Yes.
Ms. Armstead,
Yes.
Ms. Carrillo,
Yes.
and Dr. Berg.
Yes.
Members of the public, if you'd like to leave, you can. We'll probably be in the back for quite some time, so we do not want to hold you up, but we have concluded our public session of the meeting.
What's that?
Motion to come back into public session?
Second?
Roll call? Oh, do we need Joe? I'm sorry.
No.
Okay.
Mr. Dela Cruz,
Yes.
Ms. Pino,
Yes.
Ms. Rosada Quesada,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Ms. Ulyss,
Yes.
Ms. Armstead,
Yes.
Ms. Carrillo, and Dr. Berghammer.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Roll call?
Mr. Dela Cruz?
Yes.
Ms. Pino,
Yes.
Ms. Rosada Quesada,
Yes.
Ms. Thomas,
Yes.
Mrs. Ulyss,
Yes.
Ms. Armstead,
Yes.
and Dr. Berghammer.
Yes.
Eating adjourned.